And you're still happy that you went on girls trip? Like you don't have regrets just because of this? Like, no.
No, what 100%. Like I said, we had an amazing time, and I learned a lot about myself on that trip. And I needed to go on that trip. At the time when I went on the trip, I hadn't made a decision about leaving Housewives. So even though I had been thinking about it for a couple of years now, to be honest. So when I went on girls trip, I didn't know I was not going to go back to the show. So it kind of was like, it lined up kind of perfectly for me in terms of I left when I did decide to just not go back as a friend or anything, to just move on. Girls trip was starting to come, then we started promoting girls trip. So it's like literally like, okay, I'm done with Housewives, but hey, I'm over here with these Housewives now. So it was kind of like a nice way to, like, instead of cutting it cold turkey, God worked it out where I ended up just kind of rolling out on this show. And now after this one, then I think I'll be done for a while.
I was going to ask you that because, like, you seemed, like you said you were jealous, like, like you had, like, you were going through it there. Like,
oh yeah, but that's normal. I mean, yeah, people get jealous. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, totally.
Jealous of her, being great. It was jealous because I felt excluded. That not for no other reason. Like, even sense. On Atlanta. And in Atlanta, like even the people that Kenya goes back and forth with, I'm always very instrumental in bringing her together with them. I'm the first one to say, hey, let me get you and Marlo together. Like, you guys should try to get together. I did it with Marlo. I did it with Nene. I mean, you can go on and on and on. So I'm fine with my friends having friends. I'm not like, oh my God, you only have to be friends with me. Like, no, that wasn't the situation. And if it came up that way, then they need to watch it all from the beginning. Because I did not start that trip. I was happy-go-lucky when that trip started. And by the end of it, my energy changed because I felt like I wasn't getting the support from my friend. And I just felt some kind of way about it. And, can't nobody tell me how to feel. So it is what it is.
And that's understandable. And you're honest about your feelings. No, but that was my question too, of like, did you know in the back of your head, like, did this have anything to do with you not going back to Atlanta? But like you said, It seems like it wasn't. Like, like, I didn't know if you were like going through all that while you were filming this.
Not at all.
I'm confused.
I had already been thinking about, transitioning off the show, at some point. It's been 11 years. It was time. It was not only time, it was the right time for me. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of Girls Trip, which kind of weaned me off of it a little bit. And then, now it's like, even though I'm not, Housewives of Atlanta shooting now, I'm not a part of that, but I'm still doing press for Girls Trip. So it's still just billboards of us all over the place. It still feels like I still feel connected. And honestly, I've been so busy since I left the show. I honestly hadn't had a lot of time to really think about the fact that I'm not on the show anymore, to be very honest with you. And that's something I didn't expect. That really surprised me, that, the other opportunities would just, come to me once people realized that I was not, that I was available, so that feels great.
You are busy. And so like, now that they're filming, like there's no sense of loss, like, cause even whatever terms you leave on your own terms, it's like 11 years, but no, you're just so busy with like Daily Pop and all these opportunities. You're like, I don't have time.
I mean, like, well, let's keep it 100. I mean, I was getting paid very well to be on Real Housewives of Atlanta. So of course, is that like, okay, I've always been financially secure, financially stable. So of course, as a boss, as an entrepreneur, as someone who employs people, but also who's had a job that paid them really well for a long time, that was definitely like, okay, how do I replace this check? So of course, I went right into hustle mode, but I had already been planting seeds the whole time when I was thinking about this. And then, the Lord did something else. He worked it out where we were on hiatus, where we would normally go back in May. We didn't go back. So I was like, so I had even more time to sit with myself and really think about it. So by the time they started filming again, or, sitting out contracts and making those phone calls, at that point, I really had enough time to process and really, make a solid decision. And it wasn't easy. I've been on the show for so long. Like it's kind of weird sometimes not to, you know, because I just call myself a former housewife now because I forget that I'm not on the show sometimes. But honestly, it hasn't really hit me. I don't think it's going to hit me until the show comes on and I'm not there.
Do you think, right, because, you know, Bravo did this with the OC and now New York and Atlanta, it had a break. Like they really are taking their time now. You know, look, there were a couple of off seasons for a lot of shows just because of COVID, I feel. But
Right.
do you think if Atlanta started filming right away, like normal, that you might have just not had the process and really thought about what you wanted and might have just thrown yourself in and said, okay, here I am?
I don't think so. I was kind of, you know, at the reunion, I just kind of just felt so disconnected. I just felt like, wow, I don't really have anything else to say. I just don't have anything else I want to share. Like, you know, for me, it was almost kind of a full circle moment. You know, I got married my first season and I got married my last season. And I really wanted to commit to my marriage. You know, it's like getting married is part one. Staying married is part two. You can't just get married and then just go back to work and be like, all right, thanks, dude. We're married now. And now I'm going to be over here working for the next 7 months. Like you actually have to be in a marriage for a marriage to work. And I really wanted, you know, after someone, you know, as someone who this is my second marriage, I've had a marriage that did not work for me, that failed. So, and I didn't really want to get married again. So once I met Mike and we decided we wanted to actually be husband and wife, I wanted to learn from all the mistakes I made with my last marriage and really put forth time and energy into making a marriage work, because a marriage can't work if two people are never together. I mean, we were already in a bi-coastal relationship, but at least, you know, if I'm not filming a reality show 7 months out of the year, I have some flexibility to jump on the plane and he can jump on a plane. Like it just is a little easier. The jobs that I have now, they just don't last as long as Housewives. Housewives takes up a lot of our time, which is why I take my hat off to all the Housewives, especially the Atlanta ones, because it really does take up a lot of our time and keep us away from our families a lot, because we're so busy shooting all the time. And when we're not shooting it, we're promoting it. We're doing press for it. And when we're not, and as soon as that wraps up, we're getting ready to go back and shoot it again. So, you know, I take my hat off to all the Atlanta ladies, because I know how hard we work and have worked to keep that show at the top.
Do you think it's hard, like not anything to do with you and Mike, but like to have a marriage, like when you're on these reality shows for a long time, like, do you think that really plays into it? You know, like so many housewives have said like, oh, you know, reality TV was bad for my marriage or just in general.
Well, I think that if your marriage is not solid, if you're having some issues already, and then you go on reality TV, you're screwed. Okay. You guys are going to break up. But if you go into it and you guys are solid and you guys are really in it together, you guys are on the same page, it's still not the most ideal situation, because, you know, reality TV can be kind of messy and all that stuff, but you can make it if you guys are solid and on the same page and want the same things. You know what I'm saying?